Welcome everybody, this is Brothermutant here. Today we're going to continue our quest to find another Arcane Bloodline build. This one is going to be a direct competitor for the Fey Bloodline we've already posted. That's the bloodline that specifically went Enchantress with a smattering of illusion in it to give them some oomph because they didn't have much in the way of enchantment spells until level 19. Now, they have some things that we just can't compete with, so let's actually just talk about that first. Get into our character here, and I'll tell you about what we're talking about. So, for instance, they get spell penetration like ability free at level, I want to say 15. Because of that, that stacks with spell pen and greater spell pen. For that build, we specifically went spell penetration and greater spell penetration, something I don't normally do. So they finish with a solid +6 to their spell penetration check. We will never get that close. I could get that close with the true Magus toggle on, but then again, they could push their +6 then up to a +8. So again, we'll get a +4 to their +6. We'll be slightly behind always. They'll also get enchantment spells, earlier than we will. They get 2 of them, one at level 5, one at level 7. They even get a spell-like ability called Cloak of Dreams at level 20. And again, amazing spell-like ability. Something we could pick up, of course, at 17 or 19 to the actual spell. But again, they get it for free. We'll have to earn it with our free spell picks as we get to 9 and on up. So they have a little bit of enchantment ahead of the game. They also get a +2 to their enchantments right at the start at level 1. Now again, it won't do them any good until they get an enchantment spell, which is of course level 5. But again, they're a little souped up compared to us, if you will. Now we can counter that way down here with School Power by going enchantment, and of course we will. By the time we finish our build, we'll actually be a point ahead of them for the DC checks of enchantments. Why? Because I actually went Tiefling. That's going to be a straight up thing that they didn't have. They went Gnome, so they can get a bonus to their illusions. So their illusion spells will, with the toggle on, will be a +5. Their enchantments will be a +6. Ours will be a +7 for enchantments and a +4 for illusion because we went the opposite way. And just to show off the Tiefling, we did Spite Spawn. This is the one that gives a bonus to the enchantment spells. Also, weirdly, gives us Sound Burst as a free spell, bonus to Dex and Charisma, penalty to Intelligence, which is something we had to counter, which is why you see that our stats are kind of all over the place. And I lowered Wisdom enough to get that Intelligence back up to 12. So that's something. Because of this, of course, we took for our familiar, the Centipede familiar, to counter the Wisdom penalty for Perception as well as the penalty to Will saves. So we're slightly ahead of the curve, so to speak. Other than that, we have Fiendish Resistances, which are useful to us. We took Weapon Finesse for our first pick. Our stats are 12 for Strength, 16 Dex, 12 Con, 12 Intelligence, 8 Wisdom, 19 Charisma, and all 5 points will be put into Charisma to maximize our spell casting potential. And on that, we are, in my opinion, going to be a spellcaster primarily and first. We can fight, as you'll see, but that's not going to be our main focus here. You're not the tank. You're not really taking this class solo, so you're going to have a party with you at all times. Having said that, we will take a true Magus, and again, we will have a solid casting build. Now, starting off with Weapon Finesse, moving on to level 2, you'll notice I have a point already in Athletics, Arcana, and Perception. Now, you always want Perception to go up, and you can unlock things that you're going to use, like use Magic Device. I'll even put a point, like eventually, into Knowledge World, because we get a bonus for it for being the Tiefling that we are. But I'm not going to put more in it than that. But I'll start with use Magic Device. Level 1 spell. Anytime you have an illusion spell, there's only 2 that we can pick as we level up that have a DC check. One's Color Spray right here, and another one is a level 4 spell called Phantasmal Killer. As soon as it's available, well, probably a level after it's available, we'll pick that one up. But this is a nice early level spell, and while we don't have any bonus to it yet, as soon as we start getting into the meta magics, we'll be able to buff it again another point up as far as the DC check is concerned. Our thing that we have ahead of the Enchantress build for the Fey Bloodline. We have a slight bonus to our concentration checks earlier than everyone else. This is the first start of that. I'm going to unlock Persuasion and World, and now everything that you see that has points in it is stuff that we're going to invest in. The only thing that we don't care about anymore is going to be Athletics and Knowledge World. They're basically stuck at 1 as far as I'm concerned, and everything else will steadily go up, Perception being, of course, always important. From here, we're going to invest in all the feats that you're going to have early on. From 1 to 5 will be all the feats that you're going to get to fight. So things like Arcane Strike, Piranha Strike are going to make the cut here. Because of our high Charisma and the fact that we're weapon finessing, we can wand wield. We're using a one-handed weapon finessable weapon, so wand wielding is the thing. High Charisma means wand mastery will be a thing as well, so we'll get both of these, and we'll get all the 3 buffs that we typically pick to buff our weapon. For spells, if you really want to try to solo just from 3 to 5, you can do it. You have a high enough dexterity and even a strength bump as well. That will allow you to use, say, a composite bow for some extra damage. Expeditious Retreat would be necessary for this. I still don't mind grabbing the spell, though. It's an amazing spell, and it is extremely useful even on a team. Level 4, Charisma, Perception, and from here, Knowledge Arcana. Level 2, we'll grab Blur, we'll grab Frigid Touch. Level 5, this will be our last feats that we get for fighting. You'll see why here in a moment. Perception's going up. Going to get Arcana up a little bit more, and Persuasion as well. Now, why Persuasion? Because if you didn't solo and you took the team with you everywhere you went, this is about where you're going to be finishing Chapter 1, right around level 5. So this is the perfect time to start investing with Persuasion, something since you're going to be ruler of the kingdom. Now we're going to grab our Piranha Strike, as you are a dex-based character, and for our last one we're going to grab Blind Fighting. And literally this is all the feats you're going to get for fighting. So again, Weapon Finesse, Arcane Strike, Piranha Strike, and Blind Fight. That's it. That's not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. We're relying on agile weapons to allow us to take our dexterity to do damage, just like it was strength. That's a thing, but by and large, you're still going to be fine, and you're going to have buffs besides for your weapons to push it through the roof. But you're not the tank, and again, you're not really the main damage dealer as far as weapons are concerned. I envision this character to be the crowd control character, so that's really what your focus is really on. So for instance, while Scorching Ray is an amazing spell and we're going to pick it up, you can feel free to grab things like Glitter Dust or Web Spell early if you want. Go Magus some more. More Perception. Maybe Arcana up a little bit as well. Enduring Blade. Remember all our weapon buffs that we typically pick. Here I'm going to grab Scorching Ray though, because we really do want to be able to do some damage at range. Just because you don't have point blank shot, precise shot doesn't mean you can't start the combat out by shooting someone from across the map with a Scorching Ray spell. Just saying, there's plenty of uses for this, and when those casters stay back and your teammates are busy with the meleeers, feel free to Scorching Ray those casters at range. Again, no penalty to your swing in that regard. Going Magus, now we're wearing medium armor, something that you should endeavor to get, and if you can pick it up, feel free to grab it in Mithril version if at all possible. Now we start getting into the weird stuff. So what do we mean? So first off, remember, we're trying to keep up with the Fey, which means Spell Pen and Greater Spell Pen are going to be a thing. I'm not suggesting it now, I'm just pointing it out to you. Spell Focus, of course, for both Enchantment and Illusion will be a thing. Notice we don't have any enchantments yet, and we're still 2 levels away from picking up our first one. Illusion spell, we have one, we won't get a second one until probably a level 11, so again, probably not something you need to worry about now. Well, what does that leave left, Brothermutant? See all these cool beta magics? You know we can actually pick one of these things, right? You know you can pick actually more than one if you want, and we're going to do so. Now what are we going to pick? Well, we could get Empower. Notice that we're casting level 3 spells right now. So Empower works. If you wanted Maximize, I'm not going to say don't pick it, but if you want it, this would be a terrible time to grab it, because you can't use it yet. You have a level 1 spell that turns into a level 4 spell. You won't be able to cast those till 3 more levels from now. So that's a terrible idea. Not to say that you couldn't get it and just wait for it to come online, but it seems silly to grab something you're not using now. However, Meta Magic Reach is viable, so is Empower, so is Extend. And I like Extend because while it works for not only our buffs, it also works for spells like our Illusion and Enchantment spells, because in many cases they have actual durations to them. Because of that, we literally can extend them. So in many cases, we can get this +1 DC already, especially for things like our Color Spray. So a really nice buff for us. Level 1, you were going to get Grease Spell, but you don't have to get it now. We already have Web. We will get Grease by the end. Feel free to grab something like Reduce Person, though, early. And again, if you're not going to kite, if you're not going to go from 3 to 5 cheating, by taking no team with you and just peppering bad guys and running away, you could switch these around, or switch these around to the point where you take Expeditious Retreat last and get Grease Spell before you grab Expeditious Retreat. Kind of on you on that one. For here, though, Displacement's a solid pick, so it's Vampiric Touch. Remember, we get Dispel Magic for free. From here, Charisma again, more Perception. Let's use Magic Device a little more useful. I'm going to grab Lightning Bolt because we need some AoE loving. And again, while I love Fireball, we don't have any buff between either of them. And we're going to get Controlled Fireball at level 4. So let's get something a little different. Magus. Now remember, we get another concentration buff here at level 9. So we're now up to a solid +3. Perception. Persuasion. Arcana. This is our free spell pick. And before we get into that, let's just grab our Ghost Blade. And then from here, let's just jump right to the fact that we're going to get another Metamagic. Why am I getting that instead of Spell Focus, Greater Spell Focus? Remember, we only have one illusion spell. And right now we're about to pick an enchantment. I'm going to just jump to the gun and tell you right now it's going to be an enchantment. And that's our first one, so why have a bonus to it, too? We already got a +1 to enchantments already for being the Tiefling. We'll get him eventually. But in this case, I'd rather have options for our spell book. So things like Empower or Reach are viable options now. I'm going to grab Empower early, though, because we're right around the corner from level 10, which means level 4 casting of spells. For our free spell pick, let's read you the list. And this is kind of important, guys, because if we stick to the wheelhouse of enchantment/illusion, we have quite a few spells. We're not even going to get them all. So you have to be picky and choosy here. Doesn't mean you have to grab these ones. Notice right now the only enchantment we actually have is actually a cantrip called Daze. So we do have one, I suppose, but that's it. We have Color Spray at level 1, so we've picked that up already. We're about to pick up at level 10 or 11, we'll pick up Phantasmal Killer. That's a level 4 illusion spell, and that's the last one we can pick up without investing in our free picks here or the 6 that you get here. So again, what else do we have available to us? Well, right now, for free picks, we can pick any spell level 1 through 3. So for levels 1 through 3, at level 1 we have Color Spray, an illusion spell we already grabbed, Sleep Spell, and Hypnotism. If you want to look at the spell, I figured this out the other day. If you click it here, the common thing is to try to click it there, and it'll tell you what you have. If you don't remember that, I try to grab it here and it gives you the wrong info. You can just as easily click it down here, and it tells you what you need to know. It's not every bit of information, but enough to point out that, oh hell, this is going to be useless because it has a HD cap. So why bother? Let's just pass on Sleep. Hypnotism, on the other hand, is another enchantment spell. This is the one that I always mistake for being an illusion spell because it's similar but not the same as Rainbow Pattern for its effect. Massive AoE, Daze effect, and again, a lot of HD targets affected. Now again, a great spell, just like Sleep was, for those that get it for free. It's been showing up here at the level 3 for them because it's a level 1 spell. Amazing spell, has a decent range for HD, probably starting to fall out of favor already for us, so again, we're going to pass on it. But for those that got it free early, you can see the benefit of catching up a spell like this. So pretty nice. Sadly, we're going to have to pass on it. Well, that's level 1. What about level 2? Well, this is where we're going to get a winner in Hideous Laughter. This is an amazing spell. While they have to be intelligent level 3 or higher, they have to be smart enough to catch the joke, so to speak. The spell has a couple interesting features to it. One, they fall prone. That's going to be extremely useful for us, as you'll see. Another thing is basically until they make their check, takes them out of the fight. Now, it doesn't make them helpless, so be real clear on this. A spell that we can pick that's coming up on the list as level 3 is Hold Person. It will make them helpless. So you may think, why not just grab this spell? Again, a viable option. I'm not telling you don't pick it. I'm just telling you what I'm going to grab. Hideous Laughter here. And it's because this is level 2 versus this is level 3. Plus, I know me. I'm going to grab Constricting Coils down here. And as such, that's basically Hold Monster on crack. And therefore, I'll have a better version than this one. So are you really going to use this spell? Well, yeah, if you run out of those. But again, I have this one. And again, it's lower level. So I can buff it a variety of ways to get it from level 2, maybe even all the way up to level 6. Yeah, possibly. I don't think so, though. Because I don't think we can empower it. But we can reach it and we can extend it, and therefore level 2 can become level 3 or level 4. Pretty nice for us. From there, though, Hideous Laughter is the only one that's a level 2. Level 3 includes not only Hold Person, but also another spell that sadly we could get, but again, we are rapidly losing favor on. One that they get for free in Deep Slumber. That's the one they get level 7. Notice the HD cap on this is 10. And while it may be useful beyond level 10, because there's going to be minions that you fight, just because the bosses are all there in level 10, 11, and 12, doesn't mean they won't have minions that are level 5 or 4 or 2. So if you spam it on the group, maybe you'll get lucky, you'll hit 1 or 2 of his minions, and that does take arrows away from being shot into your chest. You know, those guys are sleepy time, and allows you to send up coup de grace, an amazing ability. I still can't seem to want it, because again, we are going to lose out on the usefulness of it. If I got it for free at level 7, though, hell yeah, baby, you know I'd be using that spell until it stops working. So again, kind of have to pass. But remember, he has Hideous Laughter, and that's not a reason for taking this. He has Hideous Laughter, though, and it is a good spell, as we know from start to finish. We might as well pick it up. Level 3, grab yourself Stinking Cloud for some crowd control again. Now we're a fighter officially. Level 2, grab yourself some Mirror Image for some tanky goodness. Level 4, remember Dimension Door is free, Dragon's Breath, and Stone Skin. Now if you don't want to do AoE damage yet, you can delay it by next round and grab Phantasmal Killer now. This is, of course, your second illusion spell. I can't say as I need it yet. We don't have a bonus to illusion yet anyway, not counting, of course, meta magic. So I don't mind pushing this one back to level 11, because guess what I'm going to grab at level 11? Yes, that spell and some bonuses to illusion, which is what we're doing now. So here, Perception, Persuasion, Arcana. Grab yourself Spell Focus, Illusion. Now we have another one. I could grab Greater Spell Focus Illusion and just be straight up done with it. And that's a viable option. It's not an amazing option, I'll grant you. We have other things still to pick. Again, another Meta Magic. We get Meta Magic Reach now if we wanted. Or we could start Spell Penetration. Or we could do Spell Focus Enchantment, where we have one spell and we're going to have a second before too long. But again, I can wait a little bit on that one. Remember, you're a Tiefling, so you have a +1 already for that one spell. And if we can Meta Magic it, which you know we can, we get it up to a +2 if we want. Just saying, we have options already. Time to grab Respell for some more crowd control. Level 4, like I said, we're grabbing that Phantasmal Killer. And moving on, more Charisma, better spells, better DC checks, better Persuasion and use Magic Device. And we'll push Arcana just the tiniest bit more. Now this is one of your dead zones, so again, we're going to get Bane Blade, of course, as well. So now, are we going to grab Preach and Attack? Maybe Maximize Magic? Up to you. I'm grabbing Wand Mastery, though. Our DC checks are getting nice, and I'd like to have our Wand spells at least doing some good for us, too. This is a way for us to diversify as well, so we can start using Wands and have spells that we normally don't have in our list. So long as we can, of course, cast them. I'm going to grab from here Greater Invisibility. Amazing spell, and again, just because we're not going to be picking Sense Vitals in this build doesn't mean we don't want to be able to turn ourselves invisible at a moment's notice. Keep going. Free spell pick time, and now you're up to Heavy Armor. Not that you'll use it, but you could if you wanted. Perception, Persuasion, a little bit more in Arcana. From here, we're going to grab Spell Focus, Enchantment. So now we're up to a +2 for our enchantment spells, +3 if we Meta Magic them. Why are we doing this? Because we're picking up another enchantment spell here. Now what is available now? Well, besides all the ones we already passed on, doesn't mean we can't pick them again now. Sense Vitals is still down there too, by the way. Feel free to grab it if that's your choice. Can't tell you not to grab it. It's an amazing spell. But if we talk about the new spells that opened up, we're talking level 4 and 5 spells now too. So besides all the ones we mentioned already, things like Phantasmal Killer, which we already have, Illusion spell, Rainbow Pattern, amazing spell. Matter of fact, it's one of my favorites. This is the one that I was confused with Hypnotism, thinking they're both illusion spells. This is an illusion spell. Up to 24 HD of creatures. There's no range, just 24 HD max. So they can't empower it, you can't maximize it. It's already at this level. But it's AoE, it's teammate friendly, and you really just screw over a big group of bad guys where they just stand there staring at the pretty lights. That's what Dazed is. Can they defend themselves? Yeah, they're not helpless. But they're not doing anything, they're just standing there. And it does last for a decent amount of time if I'm not mistaken. So again, a really, really nice spell. From there, we could go for things like get rid of this, Confusion, one of my least favorite spells on the list. Confusion is the one that literally, each round, it randomly rolls on this table and they do a random thing based on what they roll. So they could just behave like normal, they could literally attack themselves, they could attack something close to them, which could be us still, it could be a friend of theirs. They could stand there and do nothing. So again, very weird. Since I can't control it, it's not my favorite. If I were a sorcerer, I'd probably pick it up, but I'm not. I have limited spell picks, and therefore it's not making that cut. Crushing Despair is another level 4 spell. That's an enchantment, though. This one's a nice one, because this is a AoE and cone, and it can not only dispel a spell effect called Good Hope, It's a massive penalty besides if they fail their check for attack rolls, damage rolls, skill checks, ability checks, and all saves. That's a really nice way to soften them up for you and your team. Just saying. It makes it harder for them to hit you, and when they do less damage, a win across the board. We're not picking that one just yet, but definitely a solid choice. From there, another single target spell at level 4 that's an enchantment is called Overwhelming Grief. Now this one we're not picking, but it's a special mention for this one because while they take no action, a single target takes no action, -2 to their armor, then they lose their dexterity bonus, assuming they have one. Well, what does that mean? That actually means, guys, they're flat-footed to your attacks, or anyone else's for that matter, while they're under the effects of the spell. So if you had Sense Vitals, and you didn't have, say, Prescient Attack or someone to flank the bad guy, if you're working on a solo build, for instance, this would be a good way to guarantee you could do some sneak attack damage set up for yourself against the bad guy you're fighting. Just saying. Pretty cool. But again, we'll pass on that. Level 5 spells include things like Phantasmal Web, an amazing spell. Definitely going to pick it up, but we'll probably pick it up around 19, in my guess. But an amazing spell. AoE catches them in a web, catches them after that if they fail their Fortitude save into a nausea effect because of the spiders. But that's basically the equivalent then of a web spell and a stinking cloud spell combined. Well, so I have that, so I don't really need this one. I do like it. It's teammate friendly too, so I do love that part. So we'll pick it up, just not now. From there, another illusion spell that I know you're familiar with, one of my faves, Shadow Evocation. Amazing spell, and again, while we don't have any bonus for the fire, the cold, the electric, or anything, we do have a bonus to the illusions, and we do have some crowd control in not only Shout, but also Volcanic Storm and Ice Storm are both crowd control spells, and they cause difficult terrain. So again, useful spell. We're not picking it up yet, but we will grab it eventually. From there, we can use single target stuff like Constricting Coils, an amazing enchantment. This is the one we will actually be picking at this point. This is an amazing Hold Monster spell that does damage as well. Other than that, as far as I know, it's the same as Hold Monster, it just does damage, and it's the same level 2, level 5 spell. From there, we could talk about Mind Fog. Amazing AoE spell. Downside of this one is it's a spell that sets up another spell kind of thing. You know, it penalizes them but doesn't really do anything other than that. So it sets them up for failure for the next spell you cast or someone else on the team casts. I don't mind this one as much as, say, like Pernicious Poison. That's the one where you set them up for the next spell, which is a poison save. It's easier for you to land those poison checks at that point. So I don't like that one, Pernicious Poison, because it's single target, whereas this is AoE. The downside of this one being AoE is it's also an AoE that could affect your team. So kind of a pass. I could see it being fun though, and enjoy using it if you felt like you can control your team. Remember, a lot of our spells are going to be will saves, and this would be a good way to make sure those will saves get us extra little bit of juice to land late game. From there, after Mind Fog, another one we will eventually pick up, because I'm really starting to warm up to this spell, is Dominate Person, single target. Matter of fact, this will be the spell we pick up here at level 17. But this little goober basically converts one of their bad guys to your side. They immediately turn tail and start beating on their friends, and it's awesome. The downside is their friends immediately realize it and they turn on them like they've been on my team the entire time. That's okay. It's almost like a summons in my mind, because it's one of those where I don't mind them beating his friend to death. Matter of fact, we get XP for his death too, so that works out well. So I don't particularly care. And the best part, in my opinion, is while he may make a check each round and pass it eventually. Remember, natural 20s are going to be a thing, so there's no way to guarantee they're always under the effect. But by and large, we have the best chance of landing spells like this because it is an enchantment. And if we're lucky enough to have him or her survive the fight, after the team's dead, he's still not technically an enemy until he fails that check. Well, what does that mean? It means we can't directly target him with an attack. However, we can attack him with spells. So we AoE him, or we can blast him with, say, a ray spell, which is kind of weird. But better than that is we can do a melee touch attack, and it will automatically hit, not crit, but hit. So if we, I don't know, maybe I want an empowered, maximized version of how about Vampiric Touch at the end of the fight, so I got another 90 hit points to my character by the end of the day. Yeah, I kind of like that. So again, we can literally capitalize on that, but that's for later. After Dominate Person, another one that's honorable mention that I just can't seem to want is Feeble Mind. It's an amazing spell. Single target again. Really screws over the wizard/sorcerers of us. Charisma penalty, intelligence penalties. Amazing spell. Downside is that literally is a save or suck spell, and that's pretty much it. Good news is it's the easiest category for us to make sure it works, because it is an enchantment, and the wizards and sorcerers of this arcane spellcasters, which it also, by the way, include, I assume, Eldritch Scions and other Magi, because we are arcane casters, would take a -4 penalty to the saving throw, which means we can screw over those guys pretty hard and heavy, just with the spell itself. It's an amazing spell, it's just, again, I can't seem to want it. Why? Because while it takes their intelligence and charisma down to a 1, they're still there fighting, and it's not that that's scary at that point, but it's still one of those where it just seems weird to use a spell to basically neuter them when all I have to do is hit them with like hideous laughter, and it locks them up. They can't cast, they can't fight, they can't do anything. Just go over there and beat them like a piñata. Why do I need to have a spell that makes them stupid? You know what I mean? It just seems weird. If I was a sorcerer, you better believe as an enchantress I'd be picking this up on the build for sure, but it wouldn't be a free pick, it'd be as I naturally level up. So again, I'm going to have to pass. Last one, of course, is Hold Monster. And again, if we're going to get constricting coils, why are you bothering with this mess? So again, I'm cool with what I've decided on. It's up to you to decide if you found something better. So far, you're seeing, though, that we're getting lots of enchantments, and again, we already said this one's going to be Dominate Person. That's 3 enchantments, and all 3 of them, as you can see, are going to be single target. That may seem a little weird to you. I'm okay with it because the AoE ones are going to come down here. They're going to be huge. Now, level 3, feel free to grab yourself some haste. Level 5, get yourself Acidic Spray for some damage. Remember, it's the best damage we got here. Cloud Kill for some obvious cheese. You don't have any poison protection. Make sure someone casts it on you to protect you and your team. But you can have some serious fun with Cloud Kill, as you know. Now, from here, we got another +2 to our concentration check, so now we're up to a solid +5. Perception, Persuasion. I'm going to grab myself here. Now you can grab what you want, so I'm going to grab Glitter Dust. If you feel like Acid Arrow's your thing, feel free. And while I do have Blind Fight and I don't need Glitter Dust, remember my teammates may not all have Blind Fight, so why not light them up like a Christmas tree? So, you know, say, hey buddy, here's your target. Feel free to beat them to death. Oh, thanks man. Appreciate it. Plus it is kind of a crowd control. If they fail their save, they get blinded. So it's useful. It's not teammate friendly, so watch it. And the AoE is particularly small, but useful for the front fighter, the main tank, if you will. Level 5, I'm going to grab myself Cone of Cold. It's better, same damage as Fire Snake. Fire Snake's teammate friendly, but Cone of Cold's easier to set up with the AoE, in my opinion. Going. Now we get into some cool stuff. And again, another bonus, even though it doesn't say it here, it says it here. We get another bonus to our concentration check, so now we're not only at +5, we're up to a +6 to that concentration checks. More Perception, more Arcana. I'm going to put a little bit in the Use Magic Device here. I skip all the way to School Power and go right for enchantments. From here, the other guy's getting Spell Pen and Greater Spell Pen and all that fun jazz for free, as well as Spell Pen and Greater Spell Pen to level themselves up. So we might as well try to keep pace as best we can. So Spell Penetration is going to be your pick here. Bane Blade for the obvious weapon upgrade. Level 5, grab that Fire Snake now. Magus, Charisma, Perception. I'm done with Arcana now. Level 4, grab yourself Shout. We'll get Controlled Fireball, don't worry about that, but I do like Shout because not only is it a different damage type, Sonic versus all the ones we can do in here, it's still a cone, which is what it is, but it does have a duration because it does have a crowd control stun to it. So really useful, and again, no spell resistance. Not that we care, we're going to have Spell Pen and Greater Spell Pen, but again, I do like that we have spells that we can fall back on, so to speak. Level 6, there's no real obvious picks here, but you know, like my staples, I like Sirocco, I like Transformation. Go to Magus, another free spell pick time. Perception, Persuasion, Use Magic Device, and we'll put one more and Use Magic Device and be straight up done with it. I'm going to grab, now again, I can grab the Greater Spell Pen now if I want. I can grab Spell Focus for either of them now, or for both of them if I want to, and don't pick up Greater Spell Pen till the very end. Again, up to you. I don't mind though grabbing, well, let's see, another enchantment. Why? Because enchantment is our bread and butter, and we're about to pick up a third one now. We already told which ones we're going to pick up, and I'm going to label it for you. Where you got Dominate. right there. But just to point out that this also was a chance for other new spells as well. This is the level 6 spells that opened up at this point. So we could have grabbed things like Phantasmal Putrefaction, which is this guy here. Amazing spell. A sleep spell that's not a sleep spell. You gotta love that for some AoE coup de grace potential. We could have grabbed Cloak of Dreams, another sleep spell that really is a sleep spell. This is the one we did not grab for the Fey, because they got it for free at level 20 or something similar. But this spell is an amazing one. It's like a sleep spell that does no HD cap. Sadly, can't be used around your teammates because it's an AoE and it's not teammate friendly, so you don't want to put your teammates to sleep. But if you were doing a solo build, hell yeah, I'd grab this in a heartbeat. Other choices, though, were the last one, which was Serenity, which is this one here. And again, I don't mind the spell. It's just one of those where they have to swing at us to take damage. So I'm assuming if I have them under lock and key under spells like Hideous Laughter or Constricting Coils that they're not taking any of this damage because they can't attack. It only is when they attack that they actually get racked with pain. So it's only once a combat round too. So it's not an amazing amount of damage. It has a die roll and therefore it can be maximized or empowered. Not of course with meta magic, but with meta magic rods, or for example maximize magic, you could up the ante a little bit and make it go from 3d6 to a solid 18 or 27 damage a round. It's not the worst thing ever, and it is magic damage, but it's still one of those where I just can't seem to get on board with it. Now having said that, I am going to grab that Constricting Coils, and you may wonder why. Can't find it, that's why. Who is it? Oh, I have Constricting Coils. Which one was grabbed? Oh, delay. Derp. Dominate Person. You may wonder why I'm not grabbing something like the Phantasmal Putrefaction, sleep spell. It's not a sleep spell, it's AoE, that's teammate friendly, sets up coup de grace. Again, feel free to grab it. I'm going to grab it here. But we already have at least one spell that can lock up a target. Two, if you count Color Spray, which I do. We rapidly out-level the usefulness of it, but early on we could set up coup de grace. So again, extremely useful. And then once we have this little bad boy, I have a spell that can do that too. So I don't mind that we have just a one spell versus an AoE version. We will get the AoE version. I just find this to be more useful. Level 3, grab yourself Slow Spell, nice crowd control spell. Level 6, I'm going to grab myself Hellfire Ray. Just because you're not great at ray casting doesn't mean that you can't shoot it at distance when you start off a fight, just saying. 18 Magus, grab that Perception, use Magic Device is finally done. Now you have another free pick. And while Prescient Attack is a viable option, so is Maximize Magic, we have a lot of meta magic here. 3 different kinds, no less. So a lot of our spells could be meta magic, and that means a full round to cast. Why not have 3 quickened versions of them every day? So when you really need to start a fight off, oh, sorry, I'm going to have to AoE debuff you, or I'm going to have to control your fighter and turn him immediately to the dark side. You know, click that, and you'll be happy. Or lock down that wizard, or, you know, whatever. You got options, is my point. I do like quickened magic for this particular build. Level 6. We can grab Chain Lightning. Sounds good to me. 6 free spells time. This is where it gets interesting. So here's Perception and Persuasion. From here, you only have one more thing to pick, and it's hidden in the thumbs down category. Greater Spell Focus for Illusion. Now that's done. Level 5, grab yourself that Baleful Polymorph, because it's always fun to turn people into dogs, I find. For our free spell picks, level 1 on up, we're going to do the triage thing, where we work our way from bottom to top. We'll pick stuff and then decide we don't need it later and get rid of it. Having said that, we're not grabbing Sleep Spell. We already know we don't want it. Mage Armor, no. Hypnotism, no. There's nothing at level 1 that we need. And yes, since Vitals is still here, I'm still not going to pick it, but feel free to do so. If you were going to do it, though, I still maintain you should have picked it up at 9. I mean, really, what are you doing if you're grabbing it at 19 when you can grab it at 9? That should have been your first and foremost primary way of doing damage. Feel free to grab it. I'm not doing that. Same with Resist Energy. I'd love to have it, but I don't need it. And again, while I do like being self-sufficient, I have a team, and I know I have to have a team, so why not let them buff me? So I'm not grabbing that spell either. Having said that, though, we can grab things like Bold Person, Deep Slumber, pass. We out-leveled the usefulness of it. We can grab things like Rainbow Pattern, amazing spell. We can get Overwhelming Grief if we so choose. Spoiler alert, we're not gonna. Crushing Despair is an amazing spell, and that actually will stay on our list because it is that good of a spell. I don't like Confusion, so I'm just going to pass right by you, you little goober. But just because I'm not picking things like Acid Pit or Animate Dead or a Summon spell, feel free. I mean, you have free spell picks for this reason. I'm just trying to capitalize on the enchantments and the illusions to the best of our ability. So that's what I'm focused on. Notice that we're going to grab things like Shadow Evocation. You better believe that shit. And then, of course, the Phantasmal Web's right there. And we're not done yet. Now, question. We have Mind Fog. Look at the spell. And again, take a look at what level it is. It's level 5. So notice we don't have anything at level 6. And maybe that's where we should start focusing first before we start dipping into things like Mind Fog. Let's go to 6 and see if there's anything in here we must have. Cloak of Dreams, again, would be nice, but again, better on a solo build, in my opinion. We could grab Phantasmal Putrefaction, baby. And now the question is since I do love this spell, remember that's the sleep spell that's not a sleep spell. Teammate friendly, AoE. When they go take nappy bye-bye time, it's time for everybody on the team just to queue up coup de grace and watch 3 to 5 bad guys just go kablah. You know, it's a pretty sweet spell. And we will have a bonus to this spell because it's an illusion spell, so I dig it. Notice there's also a wisdom penalty, so even if they make the second check, that first check, if they fail it, then at least they have a penalty to them, which you gotta dig. Having said all that, what spell do we get rid of then to take this? Well, remember this guy here? We straight up said we were not going to pick Overwhelming Grief. Let's just chuck it for Phantasmal Putrefaction. I'm cool with that. Now the question is do we anything else we want? Like here's Serenity. Sadly, I don't want it. And again, why? Because I see Tarpool down here and it's sexy as hell. Now, what would I get rid of for something like Tarpool? Do I want to get rid of a whole person? Again, take a look at the level. There's nothing in here right now that's an illusion or an enchantment. That's not to say we can't turn these guys into a level 3 casting using meta magics though. So I could bump Color Spray up to a level 3 casting. I could bump Hideous Laughter up to a level 3 casting. So we will have stuff in this category. So I don't technically need Whole Person. It's nice to have another paralysis spell, don't get me wrong. But it's still one of those where I already have Constricting Coils and now I have spells like this that would AoE lock guys down for sleep, making them helpless. And that's really what we're talking about, a helpless spell. Hold Person then is not necessary in comparison to, say, something like Tarpool. And I like Tarpool over Obsidian Flow in this particular regard because it does constant damage every round, whether they fall down or not, is not the issue. As long as they're in the area of effect, they take 2d6 of, where'd you go, of fire damage, right here. Notice though, if they do fall down, fall prone, there's a penalty for getting out of the tar because they got all sticky. Well, remember all those spells that I was bragging about that actually do knockdown or prone effect, like Grease or, I don't know, Hideous Laughter? Pretty damn sweet. And there's more than just those two. So we have ways to make sure that guys fall down. And you may say, well, why do you need Hideous Laughter? You got Grease, and you know it's a great spell. Yes, but notice it's a reflex spell. So if you got that little ninja bastard that you, let's say you slap Tarpool down, you miss the ninja. He's marching through to kick your ass, and maybe he blasts right through that shit because again he's got, let's say, freedom of movement on, so he's not slowed by the tar. He will take maybe a round worth of damage, but you'd like for him to stay in there and continue to take damage. Well, if this doesn't knock him down, well, guess what, he probably has a crappy will save. See what I'm saying? So we have options. I like my options, and that's why we do what we do. Go back now to level 5. What else is missing from your build? Again, here's Feeble Mind. Question is which would we get rid of out of this list? You know I wanted Phantasmal Putrefaction. You know why I wanted Phantasmal Web. We just specifically went out of our way to grab Tarpool, and we do love our Shadow Evocation, and Crushing Despair is a nice enchantment as well. Our level 5 is solid. Our level 4, Crushing Despair, Phantasmal Killer, Rainbow Pattern, decent. Now the question would be do we really need Rainbow Pattern? It's a decent spell. They're days. It doesn't mean they're helpless, but I like them standing around doing nothing. And it looks like it's a save or suck spell, which means they fail at once and they're fascinated for the duration. So we can walk over and take our time and beat the crap out of them because it doesn't snap them out of it like a sleep spell does. So I kind of dig Rainbow Pattern. But then again, I kind of dig things like Feeble Mind. I kind of dig things like Hold Monster. So the question is what would you really need? A single target screw you spell? In a level 5 version? Remember, we got plenty of level 5 stuff already. We got Dominate Person, Constricting Coils, Shadow Evocation, Phantasmal Web. We got single target, we got AoEs. So I don't need more level 5 spells. What about level 4 then? go down here, and the only thing that really sticks out here is Overwhelming Grief, which we just passed on. Level 3. The only thing that's missing here then is something like Hold Person, which again we just passed on. So we're actually probably set. Unless you really wanted Hold Person, you could convince me to get rid of Rainbow Pattern. Remember, this is not a paralysis spell, not a helpless spell. Still extremely useful for AoE. And again, the fact that it's level 4 AoE that's placeable that you can stand in is pretty damn buff. Just saying. I like the picks that we have right now. That's the one I'm going to stick with. Now again, you could grab Greater Heroism. You could get Dragon Kind. You can do a variety of things that I didn't grab. But I like our choices. And with Tar Pool, Rainbow Pattern, Phantasmal Putrefaction, Crushing Despair, Shadowy Vocation, and Phantasmal Web, I think you have a solid Illusion and Enchantment build. Last level, last point of Charisma, Perception, Persuasion, we're done. Finished with a solid +5 on our Athletics, +15 for Arcana, +7 for World, +19 for Perception, which is misleading. There's 2 more points to add there from our Pet Familiar, so it's actually 21. 22 for Persuasion, which is not horrible, but not great. 15 for Use Magic Device, and that's usually my staple for the end of a build. For spells here, feel free to grab that Control Fireball now. And now the question is what do you want? You want Acid Fog? Sure. You want yourself Greater Dispel Magic? Fine. I hesitate to mention Dragon Kind because you are a dex-based character. Good news is when your armor falls off you probably won't feel the pinch as much because you're already going to get your dexterity bonus and of course this nice natural armor bonus besides. Immunity to difficult terrain could be useful. The breath weapon is always fun. Multiple attacks in a round are nice. You're not a strength-based character though, so the bonus to strength and dex, while helpful, still kind of what the hell are you doing? You know, I mean, I like it, don't get me wrong. It's just one of those where it's not amazing. So I'm not a fan right now. I don't mind though Greater Dispel Magic. We already have Dispel Magic. Why not have the Big Brother version of it? And that's our build. Let's go rest up. Get all our pretty little spells back. I'll show you a couple little tricks that you can do. Now the good news is we have 2 bad guys at like the very first room that we come across. I've done this map a couple times already. One's a caster, no less, which is awesome. So if you wanted to use like Feeble Mind spell on them to prove to yourself that it works, you can totally do that. But there's other things that we can do to straight up screw these guys, which is pretty fun. Now I'm going to get into the room here, rearrange our stuff, but first let's do a quick save so we can always come back to this spot and dilly-dink with stuff in case I forget. Okay, and there's my daze spell. Put stuff where it belongs, coup de grace, just so we can show that it works. Nope, don't you click on that door. You're not ready yet. I want Bane, I want my Enduring Blade, I want my Brilliant Energy, I want Speed Weapon, and I want Fire. We don't have to activate our Centipede Familiar, the buff is already there. Here's our little Sound Burst spell-like ability that they give us for free. I like putting down Arcane Strike and Piranha Strike in case I need to shut them off or turn them back on. And we can fit all 3 of our Togs right here. The middle one is the one we want on for DC checks. From there, oops, almost forgot. I do have to grab our Quickened Magic and put it down there. From there, we'll put in just the spells that I want to really kind of demonstrate some stuff. Throw a few buffs in there besides, just to make sure that we're not looking like a little weenie. I don't like these guys hitting me just because I didn't buff up. So, for buffs, the typical Shield Spell, Expeditious Retreat, Reduce Person for a dex-based build, as well as Blur are staples. If you can't afford to put those 4 spells on you, you probably should be taking a knee by now. If you're on a team though and you feel like you can push your luck, okay, that's fine. But it's still one of those where if you don't have at least this, something's really wrong. They last for a decent amount of time, and again, a map can be covered in many cases in 20 minutes, no problem. And of course, we have the ability to extend these, thank God for Meta Magic, meaning that we'll have different level castings of them, so if we need it in a pinch, you have another version of them. More on that later. As far as spells though, I want to put in anything that's an illusion or enchantment spell or a crowd control spell. Okay. Now, what I say is a crowd control spell may differ from what you guys envision as a crowd control spell, but I still maintain that a lot of these guys are going to fall into that category. I am going to put the Dispel Magics in here though. Stinking Cloud is crowd control as far as I'm concerned, so is Slow. They're Phantasmal Killer. Shout is crowd control, whether you think it is or not. It really is. Crushing Despair, a beautiful spell. Constricting Coils, another great spell for us. From here, Dominate Person will be fun. Oh, I do want to grab my Teleport spell. More on that later. Where was I? Yeah, we'll turn in Baleful Polymorph. Why not? It's crowd control-ish. You turn him into a dog. Shadow Evocation. Phantasmal Web. Where's my Phantasmal Putrefaction? Get ourselves some Sirocco. That is crowd control too. Whether you want to believe it or not, it definitely is. So is Tarpool, and I wanted to have that Greater Dispel Magic on here just because. Like that. Okay, so now we're where we need to be. Let's buff up. We have our +2 toggle on. Yep. Speed spell, Expeditious Retreat. Each person, remember, takes a full round to cast it. Concentrate, focus, power. Good job. Flare spell is the last one. If you don't have at least these 4 going into any given area, I really have to wonder what the hell you're doing. Do a quick save. Now we have everything where we want it. Let's rush in and mess with our first guy. First dude's here. Caster's going to be down here somewhere. So, what are we hitting with? A nice solid grease spell? That's cheap. How about we show you the very first spell you're going to get that can knock guys prone. This is your Color Spray Illusion spell. Boom. Now, good news / bad news. First, pull up your sheet here. Notice when you hit the guys, you can actually right-click this and actually get the information of the spell. You don't have to keep going back and forth to your spell book, so that's kind of cool. But notice, it's a level 1 spell, a lame-ass cone, teammate not friendly, so be careful you don't hit your tank with this shit. There is an HD list, but not an HD cap, so that's a really nice use of this spell. So again, we can at least guarantee that a stun potential can go out. Doesn't matter if they're 5 hit dice or 500 hit dice monsters. Now if they're sightless, they're straight up immune to this shit. That's always going to be a thing. Notice the prone effect is pretty sweet for us, but again, only works on living creatures, so be aware of that. And again, coup de grace to see if he is susceptible. Sure enough, he is. Now, as you know, unless you extend this spell, especially at the early levels, it won't last long. The penalty that he has here is like 2 rounds to 8 rounds, I want to say. It's like a die roll, which means you can maximize it, you can empower it, of course, all that fun jazz. But the point is if you aren't trying that coup de grace trick, you know, where you maximize and empower a vampiric touch through your weapon, abort the attack after casting the spell, and then do the coup de grace where you're guaranteed the crit. Remember, a crit doubles the damage, so a 90 damage for a vampiric touch could turn into 180 with a coup de grace, which is kind of sick. You're not going to set it up with a spell like this very easily or very often. That does not mean your teammates can't benefit from this. So you set it up, and then your heavy-hitting tank bastard, or Jathol, who's the scythe-wielding bitch with a 3 times crit for her crit range, a guaranteed crit for her, make sure she hits that son of a bitch. He's gone. And if either of those main characters that are doing the guaranteed crit for you is a Cornigan Smash / Dreadful Carnage kind of character, they instant kill somebody, right, let's say, with a nice solid crit, and they start off the intimidation round for everybody, right? Gotta love that shit. So again, really good ways for you to set up your teammates. Again, your crowd control. Just to show you, of course, here is his or her free spell. This is the Soundburst, the weird evocation spell they give us once a day for being a tiefling. Understand? But it is a stun, it is AoE, and it's sonic damage, so it's there. Even failed his check, so he is actually stunned for 1 round, which is kind of badass. I can go over here and straight up attack the guy. Remember, he's prone. That's more important information there too. While you're not making them prone with this spell, when you finally get things like Tarpool in your kitty, know that because he's prone, he has a penalty to his armor for melee attacks. He has a bonus to his armor against ranged attacks, which I'll show you here in a sec. Okay, so there's our swing. -4 for being prone. Of course, he was stunned and blind and all kinds of other cool shit. And you gotta love the bonus of this. Because he's blind, not only does he have a penalty to his armor, we also have a plus to our swing because we're concealed to his blind, which is double dipping. Kind of feels cheat. I don't care. I still want it. It's a nice way to set up attacks for your melee characters, is my point. Of course, this guy's back out of his stun. It only lasts 1 round. Hence my attack, and now he's getting ready to cast a spell on me. Well, let's hit him with something else. How about we do a solid, hideous laughter. Boom. Straight up screwed the guy. Again, he's prone. Very useful, especially for things like Tarpool or even Sirokkos, where they have to stay in the little cloud of dust. Knock them down, man, at range. There's nothing wrong with spells like this. Amazing way to set someone up to be just obliterated. Hell, I can throw grease under his feet to make sure he never gets the hell back up. So I have all kinds of ways to penalize this doofus now. But the point is, amazing spell from start to finish, and we get it at level 9 at the earliest. I felt like it was a solid pick versus, say, Hold Person. You may feel different. Feel free to grab Hold Person. I'm not telling you what you have to grab, just the suggestions that I'm making. Amazing spell, though, and yes, they can pass any of these checks with a solid 20 roll. So you're never going to be guaranteeing that stuff lands. But it's really, really nice to set someone up like this. And again, he's just going to sit there. He's not helpless. So again, coup de grace, you can prove to yourself he's not helpless. That doesn't mean you can't have fun on shooting at him. Remember, he will have bonus to his armor from ranged attacks. Turns out it wasn't enough. But he sees +4 to prone. But again, he had a dexterity penalty for being flat-footed. You gotta love this. So he basically straight up screwed that guy. Really, really nice. So again, a solid way to take out a couple targets. AoE with the color spray early on will rapidly lose favor. I'll grant you that. But again, the fact that you can stun them AoE style is still pretty damn cool. Let's hit him with a solid Glitter Dust spell. What do you say? Now notice will save succeeded for the Cobalt, but the Shaman is effectively blind. Now fortunately he can still attack me with things like Magic Missile. I'm not sure how he can do that shit, because he shouldn't be able to see me. And you have to pick me as a target as far as I know, but he will be able to blast me with those repeatedly. Notice how both of them, though, even though he passed his check, he's glowing like a goddamn Christmas tree. Again, that's how everyone else, if he was invisible, my whole team can now see this doofus, which is why I like Glitter Dust. Of course, if I want to neuter the caster, Stinking Cloud's an amazing spell. Stop running in there, you flipping dipstick. Oh, now you made yourself sick, dumbass. That's why I hate this character. They're too fast with Expeditious Retreat on. But he's basically completely screwed here, this guy is. So I'm not worried about him until he makes a check, and then even after that, he's still in the cloud and will be under the effect for, what, 2d4 rounds or some such? So again, you can extend and empower spells like this, which is pretty damn sweet. If you really want to take him out, of course, feel free to hit him with something. What? Let's hit him with another Scorching Ray. Those are always fun. And again, touch attack. We may not be amazing at landing these spells because of no point-blank shot or precise shot, but as long as he's not in melee combat, we don't have any real penalties to our swing. And there's ways for us to soften them up with things like Web Spell, for instance. So again, we have options. Don't forget your spells that lower dexterity, like Web Spell and Tangle spells like Obsidian Pool and Obsidian Flow and Tar Pool, as well as the Web Spell that is in Phantasmal Web. We'll get to that here in a mo. Don't forget, of course, you have ones that are not only teammate friendly, but will definitely debuff their reflex saves, like Slow Spell. Did I not go off? Yeah, he failed it. Okay. So he has a failure to the will save that is a slow spell. A solid way to debuff his reflexes. It's only a point, but it is helpful. So when you want to land stuff like your... Oh... How about something like a nice lightning bolt spell? So you see his dodge -1 from slow. And again, I could have stacked that with things like Web Spell to make sure that Web Spell was more likely to work. Of course, we have Shout, Crowd Control. I don't have to go through all these things. Let's show you a nice illusion spell in Phantasmal Killer. Suck it and die, loser. Amazing spell. And again, even if they make the second check, they still take damage, which means you can empower and maximize the spell.
Their life ends here.
I'm going to use rainbow patterns, so I want to make sure they're all within the area of effect. So now remember, when you do these ones, remember if they're teammate friendly and you friendly as well, make sure you're within the circle when you cast it. Why do I say this? Because I've guys may rush you from behind and from the side when they charge you, right? They go to the front and to the sides, and if you cast it just in front of your feet, you may only get 1 or 2 guys, not all 3 or 4. So by doing that, I pretty much guarantee that I have a chance to land it on everybody, which you see I did. Pause it real quick here to show you what we just did there. Where was our save? Solid will save for both these characters, but they didn't make it, and now they're officially, was it dazed for that spell? Straight up dazed. And again, nothing as far as penalty is concerned. Like if I swing at these guys, you'll see that it's normal. He can defend himself, but he is dazed, and if I smack him and he's still under the effect of the spell, he's still going to continue to be dazed. And I don't see him making another check. See that? So it's not a save or suck and save and save and save and save until he passes it. No, he's straight up screwed. Once he's screwed, it's time to wail on him. And you can just beat him until he basically breaks out of that spell or he's dead, which is an amazing way to set guys up. From there, see, that was Raining Pattern, right? What else do we have? 4. Crushing Despair. Okay, here you go. Drag him to the other guy so we can line them both up. Like so. It's going to be pulling. Straight up screw you spell. Failed both of them. So they literally have a -2 to their swing, -2 to their damage, -2 to their all saves, -2 to a bunch of other crap. Not armor, but everything else that matters. And we can just prove it to you because he just took a swing at me. And again, Crushing Despair, -2 to his swing. So you gotta love it. And again, didn't do anything else than that. So you can still cast spells. He's not penalized in any other real way, but he's definitely on the outs. And why? Because I can now start doing stuff like, hey, you know what? Why don't you join my team, buddy? Dominate person. Oops. I killed him. I'm sorry. Fine, we'll do it to this guy. There we go. Failed the check, and again, he had a penalty to it because of Crushing Despair, so it's even better DC as far as I'm concerned. Penalties to their saves is bonuses to my DC. It's good enough logic for me. Now, he's on my team. Notice he's green. If I put my mouse over him, he's green. And until he passes his save, he's going to continue to keep checking. Until he passes his save or someone cures him of it, he's basically under that effect. Now, notice I cannot attack him. I'm putting my mouse over here as not an attack icon. That doesn't mean I can't attack him with spells. And remember, I did say you could do things like, oh, I don't know, how about we Vampire Touch the little son of a bitch. Boom. Easy setup, free damage. It wasn't a crit. It can be. Or actually, it can't be because it's an automatic hit. See that? There wasn't any chance for him to get out of it. I just walked over and touched him on the shoulder. But an amazing attack for us, for that guy. So again, you save him for the end of the fight when he's basically still there. Feel free to get a little health back. Other stuff. Okay, time for some Constricting Coils. Amazing single target hold spell. Now this guy's going to die quick from it, so just to point out though that he is helpless. How do we know that? Coup de grace. No, there's no X, so we're fine. Here's a guy with an X on him, so you know you can't do it on him yet. So I can ignore this guy straight up. He may die from that, he may not. I could send another teammate over to coup de grace that doofus, or I could set up the maximized empowered Vampire Touch move on him if he's not going to die instantly. Sadly, he's so weak he will. But you can do whatever you want at that point to that doofus because he's a helpless target, which is pretty damn sweet. I will set up, how about we do something like, oh, that's no fun. Let's do a solid fireball spell. Illusion style. Kaboom, loser. And again, unlike a normal fireball spell, 2 different saves, so will then reflex, but that's fine. Both of them have a bonus to the DC check because we're illusion guy. So instead of it being a +2 from our toggle being on, this guy here, it's +4 because of our spell focus and greater spell focus on illusions. So a better chance for it to land. And better than that, and I know this sounds weird, but since I grabbed all those meta magics, look at your Shadow Evocation spell under meta magic. Notice how we can actually extend it. How do you extend a fireball, Brothermutant? Well, you can't. But the game don't know that, so you can clearly make a Shadow Evocation +1 DC check version, is my point. Now, you have to have the extend meta magic to do that. Now, why is that even a choice? Well, because there's other spells in that list. Remember, Not only do you have Fireball, Lightning Bolt, a Shout has a duration, and there's a duration on Volcanic Storm and Ice Storm. Because of that, they allow you to extend it. Not just these three. I can make any version that I want. And if you don't believe me, here we go. Level 6. It's already there waiting for me. Fireball, baby. Oh, sorry, dude. He died. Never mind. Point is I could have done it. And it would have had a +1 to the DC check because it was meta magic, which is pretty sweet. We're not done yet. Still show you a couple of the other ones. One of my faves, of course, Phantasmal Web. Mostly because it's so goddamn huge.
Their life ends here.
He wasn't in the area of effect of that shit? You're kidding me, man. Really? That was huge. Alright, you know, screw you, bro. You don't like that? How about you puke your guts out for me, bitch? Oh, take that. And again, another teammate-friendly spell, so you can stand in the circle. I didn't have to because I know they were standing still. But normally I would say go like this. Same with this one. Go like yay, so that you're in the circle enough that when they rush you, you're still in the effect. Amazing spells. Remember, you immediately saw who it affected, though, because they had the minus wisdom penalty thrown over their head. You see, -1, -3, whatever. So you know that these two are both affected by the first failed save. That's awesome. So now they're more susceptible to will saving spells, which are your bread and butter. Wait for it. Boom! Nappy nap bye-bye time. And that's the sleep spell. It's not the sleep spell. What do I mean by that? Remember, elves are immune to sleep spells. This is not a sleep spell. This is passing the fuck out because they're freaking the fuck out because their guts are plowing onto the ground. That's what the illusion is. They're like, oh my god, shove it back in, shove it back in. And they just can't handle it and they pass out. That's why they're asleep. And that's why we can coup de grace them, which you got to love. So again, if you want to do that trick where you use your Vampiric Touch, the Empowered Maximized version, man, here's your opportunity, baby. Get yourself a solid 180 hit points for 1 hour. Forget about it. You're going to love it. So again, a solid spell. And remember, what did Phantasmal Web do to this doofus that got caught? Remember, the first save, he's in a web spell as far as he's concerned. Doesn't mean he's not immune to it. So if he has freedom of movement, he's immune to the effects because he knows he should be immune to it. It's just an illusion. However, if he's not immune to it, he's caught in a web spell. What is a web spell? That's an entangle. So a -2 to the swing, -4 to their dexterity, -2 to their reflexes, and again, another -2 to their swing if they're a dex-based character or a ranged attacker. So again, all kinds of penalties, and they have to do spell checks to make sure they can cast spells. So an amazing spell just for that part alone. Teammate friendly, so I don't have to clog up the battlefield with an actual web spell. So an amazing spell. And again, we have an illusion bonus to it, so again, a really, really good spell. Then, what else happens? Well, then after that failure, then they do a fortitude check to see if they believe that there's spiders crawling all over them. That's the nausea. That's the little green pool. You're seeing over this doofus's head? He got nauseous from the second failure. The spiders straight up scared the shit out of him, and that's so he's puking his guts out. What does nausea do? They can't do shit. They can't cast spells, they can move, and they can defend themselves. That's it. So again, crowd control. I could be slapping down things like Sirocco's, which are just going to decimate these doofuses because they're on the ground. I could have done Tar Pool. All that's going to kill them because they're so weak at this level. But the point is now that you have them under your power, so to speak, it's time to start whooping them up with the AoE moves that are just going to be continue damage. That's why Acid Fog could have been a solid pick here for the end. I didn't grab it because I grabbed our Greater Dispel Magic, but if you wanted Acid Fog, it's a good way to set them up. Again, Tar Pool's going to be OP.
Their life ends here.
Don't you dare run out of my area of effect, you D-bag. Okay, so now of course they initially died, and I wanted just to show you something else. That was the first spike of damage, okay? Remember, they're entangled in this spell. Same with Obsidian Flow. The very first hit entangles them. So much like a web spell. So again, your penalty to your swing, your dex, your reflexes, blah, blah, blah. But the 10d6 damage you gotta love, of course. But unlike Obsidian Flow, watch what happens when I walk into it. I'm stuck. I immediately failed my saving throw. Now what's going to happen to me? Well, I take fire damage. 2d6 per round until the spell goes away. How long does that spell last? 20 rounds. So again, I could stack up some decent damage if they're stuck in it. Now how do we guarantee they stick in it? Well, for one, they have to have a bad reflex save. You see, I'm not doing very good. Again, I said that I wanted a teleport spell. Why? For when I get caught in my own stupid ass spells like this. Remember, we don't have penalties to our concentration check at level 20. So we can teleport out. So long as we're not face down in the dirt, we can still cast a spell. We can cast a spell and get the hell out of that mess. Same with web spell, by the way. So again, that's why I like having that up there, for just other reasons too, but that's definitely a biggie. But again, this could be used to trap guys in it with things like a grease spell, or a prone spell like Hideous Laughter, single target, if you wanted to do one for a will save versus a reflex save. Or we could, of course, put Siroko's on top of it, so that literally it knocks them prone again, and they're stuck in not only the fire damage that is Sirocco, but the fire damage that is the tar pool. So you can see we can put a cluster pile of hurt on a specific area of effect. You have to make sure your team's not stupid, and they are, but it's still a thing. Again, you definitely want to be able to do these things, so it's really, really useful for you. And again, after this point, when they're entangled and on the ground and stuck in the tar and everything else, the reflex saves are pretty much shite, right? So feel free to start bombarding them with reflex spells. You know, if that's not your cup of tea, maybe you don't want to use the illusion version. You know, we got our controlled fireball right here, baby. Just gonna put it in the list. Just blam, 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 lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. Again, we got chain lightning. We got all kinds of shit that we could have put in our list. So you're gonna be fine with this build for damage. So now the question is, what else can I show you before we do a direct comparison with the
Their
Fey?
life ends here.
Just to show you again, we have all these spells we can use to set up targets, whether we want to poison them. Stinking Cloud's amazing for locking up casters. Web spell for just making it concentration problems, reflex problems besides, and keeping them contained to a specific area of effect. We can do our knockdown spells and other things, of course, later on, stun. But now look at your spell book and look at all the cool dots that you have above your spells. Why? Because you went meta magic 3 different ways from Sunday. So you'll see some spells can actually be buffed 3 different ways, and literally you can stack them. Notice this is the level of the spell right now. If I extend it, it goes up to 3. If I empower it, it goes up now to 5, and if I reach it, it goes up to 6, which is as high as I can cast it. Let's give it an ugly color because it's a combination of all 3. Boom, there's your Frigid Touch level 6 version. Now, would I realistically use that? Probably not. Do I want it in my spell book? Hell the fuck yeah, I do. Why? Because I might need it. If you need it, it's there. It's like Batman. You're going to set up the utility belt with all the freaking tricks. Do you need that shark repellent? Really, Batman? Hey, man, when you need it, you freaking need it. So this is your time to grab this shit. When you actually start getting your meta magics, every time you get a new one, you should redo your spell book. And every time after that you get a new spell, you should check that new spell for its potential to be meta magicked. Okay? So every time you get a level, you should be checking again and updating. I'm not going to do it for all of them, but just to give you a fine example, here's color spray. I can extend the duration. We'll call the extend ones yellow. I can take that same spell and I can empower that spell. Let's make empower, because it's usually damage that I think of when I think of empower. Let's make it red for blood. And now I have 2 different versions besides the original. So here's a level 1 version, here's a level 2 version, and remember that level 3 spell that we wanted but we passed on because better stuff was available and I felt bad because there was nothing in level 3? Here you go, baby, we're in level 3 now. You don't have to worry. And we're not done yet, because I could have done this and make an actual level 4 version. So what's yellow and red combined? That's right, it's orange. And that's our level 4 version of that spell. Now, would I realistically use that? No. But could I? Hell yeah. And again, if I run out and I just need it for whatever reason, then I have that option. If you do the same with things like Hideous Laughter, I could extend it. I can, where'd you go? I can reach it. I'll make reach blue, so I know which one I have. Notice that there's the level 2 version, and then here's 2 different level 3 versions. Which do you want? The one that lasts longer, or the one that can shoot farther? Again, useful, right? Again, I'd probably go with the range, quite frankly. Why? Because 20 rounds is more than enough. And again, just because it's 40 rounds doesn't mean it will last 40 rounds. You're going to fight and kick the guy's ass for sure. You're not going to stand there and wait for it to wear off, are you? And if he makes the check at any time, poof, it's done and over. So it doesn't matter if it's 1 round or 40 rounds. He can make that level natural 20 roll, poof, the spell's done. So use the one that shoots farther. you'll benefit from it more. But do I like having the option? Hell yeah. And now here's another option of the same spell. It was. Did I? Oh, I didn't do it. Dumbass. Brothermutant. What are you doing to me? So again, yellow and blue make. What color class? That's right, it's purple. I'm just kidding. It's green. But here it is now at level 4. So I have Hideous Laughter at 2, 3, and 4. Technically 2, 3, 3, and 4, but you get the point. It's covering multiple levels, and that's extremely useful to me. That's why I like this. That's why I highly recommend you grab at least 2 meta magics. Which 2? That's on you. I like Extend though, and again, Extend works for our buffs, which again, I know those buffs are DC checks, so I don't care. We have plenty of spells that you can see though that are being extended. Remember, Color Spray can be extended. Hideous Laughter can be extended. Nothing in here. Crushing Despair can be extended, right? So again, you're going to see many of your spells that are going to fall in this category. Rainbow Pattern can be extended. So we have 2 in that list already. Phantasmal Killer can be reached or empowered, but not extended because it's an instant kill or instant damage, but that's okay. Level 5, remember this is the highest you can go because at level 6 there's no level 7 castings. So level 5, the only ones we can do are the extended or the reach, which is why I highly recommend you grab at least one of these, because again you'll have more utility. So grab extend and empower, or extend and reach, or reach and empower, but always get one of the level 1 increases. And again, constricting coils can be extended. What else do we have here? Cloud Kill, I don't care about that one so much. Dominate Person though can be extended. And this is just ways for you to increase the DC checks of these spells. Baleful Polymorph can be reached. Shadowy Vocation weirdly can be extended, which again I just love. So again, Phantasmal Web extended. And again, higher DC checks for all spells. By the time you're done with this, your spell book for levels 2 through 6 are going to be freaking huge. Level 1, of course, nothing. It's going to be whatever you pick, because there's nothing that's getting extended or buffed in here, because you can't do that to this stuff. But that's a huge spell book, and again, it's already waiting for you because you're a spontaneous caster. So just continually go through and update this bad boy. And if you're worried about making so many spells that you fill up this tray, don't worry, the tray will actually get bigger. I've done this before. So if you literally fill it up, and let's say you have 6 rows instead of 5 rows, right? So instead of 25 spells, you have 30 spells, let's say at level 6 or 5. What you do is, if you can't see them, just click like this, back into them. The tray will extend and you will actually see the ones you can't see normally. It will get taller, if you will. So again, it is there. Don't feel that, oh, I have to be careful which ones I pick and choose. No, you don't. Make them all. That's why I say I make them all, even if I'm never going to use that silly ass combo of the Frigid Touch that can be shot at a distance, that can be doubled for the duration, and empowered for the damage. Would I realistically ever use a level 6 spell like that? Fuck no. But if I needed cold damage and it was my last spell, I'm just saying, here's Frigid Touch, baby. Nothing else in here is doing cold damage. I'm just saying. So there, well, Shadow Evocation can. But again, you get the point. There's plenty of reasons to want the utility of this. That's why these spells are so much fun once you get meta magic on your side. Now, did you have to take those 3? Again, no. Feel free to grab Maximize. It's just not going to be as useful in my opinion. It's only going to be spells 1, 2, and 3 that you can maximize. But again, we got plenty of spells that are useful for that. Again, if they can be empowered, if you see 3 dots, for sure they can be empowered. That means they can be maximized. So you can maximize Stinking Cloud, Lightning Bolt, Vampiric Touch, Frigid Touch here. Guarantee you there's another one in here. Mirror Image can be maximized. Scorching Ray can be maximized. We can maximize Magic Missile, Shocking Grass. Color Spray can be empowered and therefore maximized. So again, there's a variety of stuff that you can bump up with maximize. It's just not a huge list like Empowered is. So you guys will have fun with this. Now the last thing to say after all of that is, how do I rate this compared to, oh, let's not do that. Let's have some serious fun. How do I rate this, say, to my Fey build? Well, the Fey build will be tougher. To be honest, straight up, the Fey build will be tougher. Remember, they went more in the fighter feats too. They didn't do this crazy meta magic shit that we did, but they're still, by and large, equal. They do have that DR5/cold iron, right, at level 20. So that's something we'll never get, but we have 5 resistance to our fire, cold, and electric attacks, which they didn't have. So again, potato. I'd rather have the elemental protection, quite frankly, but up to you. And they do have that one spell-like ability at level 20. That was pretty pimped, that Cloak of Dreams. Now remember, I could have grabbed that too. I didn't grab it because it's not teammate friendly. They got it because it was free. And again, would I use it in combat? Hell yeah, I would, but I'd be more careful with it. So again, it's just differences. And again, I can't say who's better or worse. I do know that we'll have more spell options than they will have, and we'll have better DC checks than they will ever get. So again, we have, just to recap, where's our, probably need it under spell book. For our regular spells with the DC check, like a grease spell, okay, the typical for us is going to be 10 base plus 1, the level of the spell, so 11, plus our charisma modifier, in this case plus 7, so 18, and we have our plus 2 toggle on. Now he had that same thing going for him. So all of our spells are equal. Remember, he has a 20 for the DC check of grease, so do we. However, the thing that we have that he doesn't is we can make a better version of grease. So if we do that, let's just go with extend just because, and we cast that version, he can't do that. Yes, he can make an extended or empowered or reached version of these spells just like we can. He doesn't get a +1 to the DC check. That's something that's unique to us. So we can always be one ahead of him for that reason alone. Now look at the enchantment versus illusion. Remember, he had a +6 to his and a +3 or +5 to his illusions. We're going to get a +7 to our enchantments. He's going to get a +4 to our illusions. So he'll beat us on illusions because he went gnome, which is valuable. We went tiefling, which is why our enchantments are better. If he went tiefling, he'd match us for that regard. But again, we're still always one ahead. So while we're a little bit less in the illusion department, we get it back with that beautiful, beautiful bonus right here, because we can empower or meta magic them in some way and get a +1 back. So I don't feel at all subpar to his casting. He gets spells sooner than me. That's kind of cool. So it'll make leveling up for his enchantment side of things easier, so to speak. But we caught up reasonably fast. Again, the fact that we pass him by the time we get to 17, he only has these two, one of which that he out-leveled. That's the Deep Slumber. And then he got Hideous Laughter. He had that from level 5 on up. So again, he had that. That's nice, don't get me wrong. But he had to wait all the way to 19 and then pick up some other cool shit. And we had 3 separate picks. And I didn't have to go single target. I could have done AoEs. I could have done my Phantasmal Web. I could have done Phantasmal Putrefaction, Shadow Evocation, whatever. Up to you. If I redo this, I'm definitely going gnome, and I'm definitely making an illusionist build. I may do a smattering of enchantments because they are useful, but I would grab them here at 19. All these guys are going to be more likely than not either buffs like Sense Vitals or straight up illusion spells. Just saying, because I can make an awesome illusionist using the Arcane Bloodline. I don't know who that would be a direct comparison to. It's not the devil. He wasn't illusion. He was, I want to say he was enchantment too, and a Raycaster. So I don't think I need to do a devil comparison. What do you call it? Not devil. It's not abyssal. Infernal. I don't think I need to do an infernal build comparison. If you guys want to see it, I'll do it. Comment down below. But I don't think that's necessary. The Serpentine build I still need to do, and I think he was kind of illusion. He had hypnotism, I know, which is an enchantment, but I still feel like he should have been an illusionist. So I'll probably do an illusionist to compare against him, and I'll throw in just enough conjuration to make him interesting. He'll beat us out for certain things that we just can't do, like the delay poison spell that he gets for free, the little bastard. But other than that, though, as long as we're on a team, and I think he was a teammate-friendly build as well, we'll be solid against him. Just differences. And I think that's my last. Oh, sorry, no, I take that back. It's not my last. I have to do Celestial still, right? That'll probably be my hardest one, guys. Quite frankly, Celestial's going to be the hardest to compete with because he gets spells and abilities that we just don't get, period. They're just weird shit. The ability to heal in his free spell-like ability once a day, or several times a day, where he just beams you with a ray beam. He can just heal you. Now, that's not amazing, but it's something I can't do, ever, with Arcane build. Obviously, I'll have to rely on wands for the shit like that. But, yeah, the Celestial build's probably going to be the toughest one. So the last 2 builds that are coming will be the Serpentine build, and then the build after that will be the hardest one, which will be the Celestial comparison Bloodline build. But with that, my name's Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.